Welcome to a beginner's guide to Roblox Aniphobia. This video contains pretty much everything you need to know about this game. How to play, what to do, it's all in here. Let's get into it. So, you're probably asking, Brian, what is this game? Well, let me explain. Roblox Aniphobia is a game where you must kill anime characters by finding or buying weapons. Imagine Apocalypse Rising, but instead of zombies, you're killing anime characters. There are also bosses in game that spawn every once in a while. We'll be discussing all that and more in a bit. Now that we have discussed what the game even is, let's talk about the mechanics. There are 3 types of mechanics: health, movement, and keybinds. Every player starts with 100 health, although their actions can affect this. There are items the player can use that either heal them or give them more health. Items that heal the player include soda, sarsaparilla, cram, medicine, burger, med pack, and the med kit. Items that increase the player's health include the police vest, military vest, and juggernaut armor. As for movement, here are all the keybinds you need to know. Of course, this will change depending on what device you play on. Let's talk about weapons. There are a total of 100 obtainable weapons as of September 2024. A list of every in-game weapon can be found on the Aniphobia wiki. The player is equipped with the M1911 and a crowbar when spawning in-game. Depending on your skill level, these can get you pretty far. However, if the player goes to the alley near the truck, they can also obtain the Red Ryder Carbine BB gun. It's not recommended to use this weapon though, as its stats are pretty shit. Half of all weapons found in game can be bought at the shop in the spawn area. The other obtainable weapons are hidden throughout the map, either through killing a boss or being found at a specific location. Weapons shown on screen are only obtainable by staff members, meaning the average player cannot get them. Weapons can be separated into ranged and melee weapons. Ranged weapons contain limited ammo, which can be reloaded using ammo crates found throughout the map. Melee weapons don't use ammo but force the player to confront enemies, which is risky. When it comes to damage, the amount of damage done is the amount of money a player earns. This can be used to buy better weapons in Mista's shop. If anyone is curious, my favorite weapons to buy in the shop are the Model 29, the REM 700, and the M14. Since Aniphobia is all about killing enemies, let's talk about them. Enemies are, quote, hostile NPCs that seek to maim and kill players through various means from both ranged and melee attacks. In other words, they are NPCs that try to kill the player through melee or ranged attacks. The ones in Aniphobia are based on anime characters from various media. There are 7 types of enemies that one can encounter in game. They are unarmed, fast, strong, small, ranged, special, and bosses. We'll briefly discuss each one because I'm a lazy fuck. Unarmed enemies are the most common ones you'll see in Aniphobia. These enemies inflict average amounts of damage by hitting the player with their arms. Usually they have 100 health points, default movement speed, a damage range of 15 to 25, and always have 2 or fewer abilities. Fast enemies are less common and usually attack players with melee weapons, meaning they deal more damage than unarmed enemies. Fast enemies generally have 200 HP, sprinting movement speed, do melee damage from a range of 30 to 35, and 2 or fewer abilities. The good news is only 5 non-boss enemies fall under this category. Strong enemies are basically a stronger version of unarmed enemies. They typically have 200 health points instead of 100, making them stronger than other enemies. This also means the player must shoot them more times than average. Small enemies are the in-game version of anyone below 5'4". Seriously though, these enemies are smaller in size compared to other ones. Small enemies have 3/4 of a regular enemy's health pool, or 75 health points, and are smaller. Ranged enemies are always equipped with a throwable weapon or a gun. This means they can attack the player without going up to them. The enemies with guns are especially dangerous, as depending on the type of gun, it can only take a few shots for them to kill the player. Some examples of ranged enemies are T-dolls and cultists. However, there are also ranged enemies that just wander around the map. Special enemies always have unique attacks and abilities, which weaken or kill players and heal nearby enemies. Not counting bosses, Special enemies are the most dangerous enemies. They should be a top priority for anyone playing the game. Bosses are basically what they sound like. They are the most powerful NPCs that the player can encounter. Health-wise, they have a lot more HP than the average enemy. The specific amount varies based on the amount of players in the server. Bosses also have multiple abilities that can be dealt to players. With all this said, preparing as much as possible before taking on a boss is generally advised. After a boss is defeated, they'll drop loot that can really help a player defeat other in-game enemies. Let's now talk about vehicles. They are available for the player to use to get around the map, which we'll discuss later. As of this video's release, there are 12 types of vehicles in Aniphobia. This also includes the variants of each vehicle. In no particular order, the in-game vehicles are the sedan, pickup camper, delinquent, tractor, Humvee, police cruiser, sports sedan, competitor, highwayman, stallion, jeep, Willys Jeep MB, pickup ranger, and a military helicopter. Each one can be found in a different location and has different stats, making some better than others. Every vehicle has limited durability, which can be lowered by ramming into objects, players, enemies, and other vehicles. However, they do not count down to an explosion when it is burning. Players can still drive vehicles in this state. When a vehicle does explode, it will kill both everyone inside and all players close enough to the blast radius. It doesn't just affect people with low health, but anyone close enough regardless of health. You can restore a vehicle's durability using the repair kit found throughout the map. Let's end off this video by talking about the in-game map. This is what the Aniphobia map looks like. Since the game map is pretty big, we'll only be discussing several key locations. First off, we have Firebird. This is currently the biggest area where players can find resources. Some key locations within Firebird include St. Mary Hospital, the mall, and the Aurora nightclub. There is also an abandoned store that one can enter, which only contains 2 sleeping bags and a radio behind tables. Be careful when going to the mall though, as cultists protect it. The second location we'll discuss is Will's Den. It is located in the northeast corner of the Aniphobia map. This town is the second largest area players can loot in-game. Items such as the nuclear launch key, nuclear launch code, evidence locker key, and Uzi can be found at Will's Den. The nuclear launch key only has a chance of spawning in Will's Den though, as it has several possible spawn locations. The third location to know about is Redwood. It is located near the center of the Aniphobia map. Players can find vehicles, loot, ammo, and weapons such as the fire axe and baseball bat in Redwood. This town is decent if players cannot find a car in the next town over. Speaking of the next town over, the fourth location to know about is Woodpine. This can be found south of Will's Den and is also one of the game's spawn locations. Honestly, there's not much to loot here, although the nuclear launch code does have a chance of spawning inside the garage near the spawn area. Another significant area in game is the military base. It can be found in the northwest corner of the Aniphobia map. It's a popular location for players to visit, containing weapons such as the M4A1, M16A2, M60, and XM25. As for vehicles, the military base has loads of Humvees and most notably, the helicopter. In addition to all this, the nuclear launch code and key have a chance to spawn in the military base as well as the silo key. However, the military base is difficult to enter as it is protected by T-dolls, all of which have different weapons used to kill the player. The final area we'll discuss in this video is the power plant. It is located on the western side of the Aniphobia map. It is a pretty critical location within the world of Aniphobia since it can restore power to the entire in-game world. The actual process of doing this is rather complicated, so I'll make a video explaining it in the future. The power plant is guarded by cultists of various levels, so getting inside will be a bit of a challenge. Regarding loot, items such as the motel key can be found here. Vehicles such as a police cruiser, pickups, a jeep, and a pickup camper can be found at the power plant. That is all I have to talk about in this video. I know it's not a complete guide, but it should give you a rough understanding of Aniphobia and how the game works. If you want me to make more videos about Aniphobia, let me know in the comments below. With everything being said, feel free to watch this video next.